All right, everybody get their hymnal. We're in a big building and spread out, so everybody's sing loud. We're going to start with number 535. Number 535. Happy anniversary, Bobby and Rachel.
Oh,
9:16. There is coming a day when no heartaches shall come, no more clouds in the sky, no more tears to dim the eye. All is peace forevermore, all the happy, all is born, all the
Won't that be a glorious day? Man, those are powerful words. So we have one more we'd like for you to help us with this morning. So it becomes special. Okay. Well, we're ready to do it. We've done it several times. If you recall some of the words, sing this. You know, I don't think there's anything that's sort of coincidence. And it's definitely noted in the Bible 365 times where we're instructed or given encouragement to not worry, not be afraid. There's 365 days a year. Coincidence? I think not. And your shackles, they will fall to the ground, and you not be and nothing but life. When that comes knocking at your door, on your knees, you'll find peace, and you don't need to pray. Don't be afraid, for I am with you. Do not fear, I won't let you fall. So come to me, you burdens and you pray. 'Cause in your heart there has come that no one can leave alone. So come to me, I'll guarantee you will never be alone. Don't be afraid, for I am with you, and do not fear, I won't let you fall. Those who can, won't you go to stand? We'll sing that chorus again. Don't be afraid, I am with you, and do not fear, I won't let you fall. So come to me, your burdens bear. Sing that again, just three verses. Come on, go. Don't be afraid, for I am with you, and do not fear, for I won't let you fall. So come to me, your burdens heavy, and do not be afraid. Don't be afraid, for I am with you, and do not fear, for I won't let you fall. Come to me, your burdens heavy, and do not be afraid.
What a wonderful reminder. If you pay much attention to what's going on recently, you'll see that there's plenty of reason, or maybe I should say you'll see that those who don't know God, those who don't know Jesus as their Savior, there's plenty of reason in this world to be afraid. Plenty of reason to fear, especially with what's going on right now in the state of our culture and our nation. But those of us who believe in Jesus, those of us who trust in Him, we know ultimately, no matter what happens, we have life through resurrection. And so really, ultimately, we have nothing to fear, even death. That's what everybody's really afraid of. right? When it gets down to it, it's dead. We don't have to fear that. Because of Jesus and what He did to the cross, we don't have any reason to be afraid. And so thank you, Lacey, for that reminder. Good morning to everyone, and welcome back to our second service in a row. We've got a streak going now. Once you get two, you've got a streak going. So we've got a streak going this morning with our second service in a row. I'm glad that each and every one of you has chosen to join us. I do want to say that we're slowly getting back and feeling more comfortable with normal, but I don't want us to rush back into just complete normalcy, right? Because if you keep up with the virus and the way that I have, you know that there is a little spike going on, obviously, with things opening back up. So we still need to be cautious, right? We still need to be cautious, and I hope that each and every one of you will do that, not only for your sake, but the sake of those around you. Many of you are probably like, hey, I'm not certainly myself that worried about it, right? It scares me, okay, a little bit, but I know that I'm healthy enough that I can probably survive that, right? But there are those of us in this congregation through health issues, age, things like that, they're a little more susceptible, a little more at risk. And so those are the people that we need to be protecting through our own actions and the way we handle and conduct ourselves. So remember that. I know we're getting closer to normal, but we do need to remain cautious. We're going to continue the sermon series this morning titled The Cycle, right? The Growing Cycle. And we're going to continue that this morning. Last week we talked about the preparation of the soil. Right? We talked about the cultivation, the plowing, the breaking up, the loosening of the soil. And we talked about the importance of that. We talked about how it's laborsome and how it could take possibly years. This is what's awesome about this cycle is that you know if you've planted a garden or you've seen someone planted a garden, that's the first step. And once you start the preparation of the soil, you started the process, but it's a long time coming before you actually yield the fruits of that labor. And so while I think it's important for us to understand each step is also equally important, right? We have to understand the importance of what we're doing. Now, I understand that most of us need to understand, at least, that the breaking up of the soil and the preparation of that is just as important as the harvest. Because without one, you cannot have the other. I think we can all agree upon that. And we understand that even if the soil from last week is trampled, even if it's thorny, even if it's rocky, we don't give up on it. We don't just set it aside and say, no, this soil isn't ever going to be worth it. We work the soil. We do what we can to prepare that soil so that it can receive the seed. That's our job. That's our role. In fact, 1 Corinthians 3:6-9 says, I planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase. So then neither he who plants is anything, nor he who waters, but God who gives the increase. Now he who plants and he who waters are one, and each one will receive his own reward according to his labor. For we are God's fellow workers. You are God's field, you are God's building. And so last week I was afraid maybe I didn't share that scripture, and I wanted to share it this week so we understood that we are God's laborers. We are his workers. And last week, talking about the tilling and preparing of the soil, I want you to understand who you could be in that situation. Alright? You could either be the soil. Some of you may not know Jesus as your Lord and Savior. Some of you may have not started that relationship yet. And if that's you, you are the soil. You need to be tilled. You need to be worked on. You need to be prepared for the seed. Okay? But most of us, a lot of us in here have a relationship with Jesus. We've been walking with Him probably for some time. And if that's you, then you're the one who's doing the preparing of the soil. That's how it was last week. This week, it's the same scenario. We've still got the soil. We've still got the people who don't yet know Jesus. But we've got now a sower. Someone who's coming to plant that seed. And that is us as well. Not only are we to till the garden, not only are we to prepare the soil, but we're to plant the seed. We're to plant the seed. This week we look at the next step of the cycle in sowing the seed. That's what we're going to take a look at today. And after Jesus shared that parable last week, what I love about it is I think He understood when He shared that parable, He had a lot of His disciples that were like, what is He talking about? This makes no sense. Like he shared this parable, and they're not grasping the concept that he's trying to get out. And so, a few scriptures down, Jesus goes ahead and he explains. And my favorite explanations, in fact, in Luke chapter 8. Luke chapter 8, and I think it's starts with verse 11. That's the specific one I want to look at this morning. Luke 8:11 says, "Now the parable is this: the seed is the word of God." The seed is the word of God. So today, as we are sowers, we know now that our role as the sower, our role is preparing the soil, but also planting the seed. Now we know what seed we should be planting. That is the word of God. That's the gospel. In our role as disciples of Christ, in our discipleship responsibilities, we should be sowing that seed in the way we live our lives, the way we conduct ourselves, the things we say. It doesn't always have to be a sermon preached or a song that we sing. In the way you conduct yourself, in the way you handle your relationships, in the way you handle your money, all of these things can be seeds that are sown, because I'll promise you, somebody is watching. It's very important as we go through this sermon series that we understand the importance. I hit on a little bit of each cycle, or of each step in the cycle. Right? It does no good to go out and prepare soil if you're not going to plant the seed. Right? Who goes out and tills a garden, breaks it up, loosens it up, and then doesn't plant anything? Right? That's wasted time. Who just puts to break up dirt for no reason? It does no good to work the soil if you're not going to plant the seed. And it does no good to go out in your yard when rhododendron grass is growing and just throw out seed without preparing that soil. Because that seed will never grow. Every step in this process is equally important and dependent upon the other. And we need to view every step in discipleship as the same, as important. Right? You may not get to always reap the harvest. Right? You may not be the one that gets to see the seed that was planted, the soil that was prepared. You may not get to see that come to fruition. But through faith and hope, we still need to see the preparing of the soil as important. We still need to see the planting of the seed as important, even though we may never get to be the one who goes out there and reaps the benefits of all that labor. Even though we may not even ever get to see the produce, we still need to see those steps as important. I think about this all the time. I think about how I've cheated my grandparents and my parents through the years in their garden. You see, they went out and they tilled the soil, they planted the seed, pulled the weeds, and watered the garden. And in the end, I get to come through and I get to eat. I go through, and I pick corn, and I pick beans, and I pick peas and tomatoes, and I eat it. I enjoy the fruits of their labor. Right? Sometimes that's how it works in discipleship too. Sometimes you have to sit back and watch after you've tilled the garden, after you've prepared the soil, planted the seed. You have to watch as someone else gets to reap the harvest. But that's okay. The harvest isn't for you and me. Yes, someone may reap that harvest, but the harvest doesn't belong to them, does it? The harvest belongs to God. It's His. It's His field. We're His workers. And so even if you're just getting to plant the seed, or even if you're just getting to prepare the soil, you're still just as important in that discipleship and that cycle as any other step. We have to look at it that way. And through faith, we have to be ready to do one on the other. Sometimes we don't do it. Sometimes we do them all. And people that are close to us, sometimes we prepare the soil, we plant the seed, we maintain it, we water it, and then we get to harvest it. Sometimes we get to do that, but sometimes we just plant seeds and we just prepare soil. And everybody has a hand in it. And that's okay. That's what it's all about. That's how discipleship works. And so we must see each step in this process as equally important, dependent upon the other. Because without one, you can't have the other. Right? And so we all have to work together. That's what I love about that scripture. It says, Apollos watered, I planted. And it says, now he who plants and he who waters are one. That's because they've got the same goal. They've got the same thing in mind, and it's that we can reap this harvest one day. One day there will be fruits for the labor that each of us are putting in, and it'll all be for God's glory. And so the first point I want to make about planting and sowing this morning is simply that we should be sowing the gospel. We should be sowing the good news of Jesus Christ. Anybody turn on the news lately? Okay. In unless you just really want to get down, don't do that. But sometimes I can't help but look away. It's like a train wreck. Like it's bad, but you can't not look at it. Okay? And that's kind of the way the news is. I tend to be around people who are older than me, Haley's parents, who like to watch the news. I don't like it, but I get to witness it anyways. And if you look and you watch the news, like many of you probably do, alright, and they make you sit through all that garbage to finally get to the weather, the only thing that anybody really cares about, but they make you watch all that garbage first. And what you see through watching the news is what? You see a world of people. You see our nation in particular, but a world of people who need seeds of gospel to be sown in their lives. You see a world of people, a culture, that needs soil to be tilled. They need that soil to be broken up. All that's in their heart right now is hate, violence, deceit, lies. That's the things that you're seeing right now. That's the kind of seeds that are being sown. What they need is people like you and me to come out, to go out in the world, to care enough about them, even though we disagree with them, even though we may not like or condone what they're doing, but to care enough about them, care enough about their souls, care enough about the soul of our nation to plant seeds of Jesus. That's what we need. You want to know the truth? If the issues that we have in our nation right now are to be resolved, it won't be a Republican, it won't be a Democrat. It won't be laws, it won't be legislation. It will be people like you and me, just like us, planting seeds of the gospel. You want to change this nation, that's how you can do it. I struggled, when all of this started happening, I struggled within myself. What can I do? How can I help? What is there that I can go out and do and really change the trajectory of our nation? Because that's really, in the time that we're at right now, we have the opportunity to change the trajectory of our nation. And it could go either way. It's 50-50. And I thought about, what can I do? What can Dylan Stewart do to help change the trajectory of this nation? And there's nothing better than sowing seeds of the gospel. I see a world of opportunity, of people who need Jesus in their lives. A world of people who need that seed to be planted. That's where we come in. As followers of Jesus Christ, as His disciples, we can come into a place, we can come into a person's life where there's nothing but hate, nothing but judgment, nothing but violence, nothing but anger. And we can sow seeds of Jesus, and guess what? We don't have to be the ones to change them. He will. If we will subdue to His will in our lives, if we will just plant those seeds, He'll change it. He'll do the work. As it said in the Scriptures, I planted, Paul watered, but God gave the increase. We may have done a few jobs, but the Lord is the one who made it happen. And so this morning, if you and I want to see our culture change, it's going to be through us planting those seeds. The seeds of Jesus Christ. The gospel. This word right here will change the hearts of even the hardest. Look at Paul. Paul persecuted the church. Paul killed Christians. Even the hardest of hearts, even the toughest of soils can be transformed through the work of Jesus Christ. All we have to do is make sure that they know about it. All we have to do is broadcast that seed. Romans 10:14-16. How then shall they call on Him whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in Him who they have not heard? You can turn on the news and you see a world of people who don't know who Jesus is. I promise you they've never heard His name. Half those people you see burning down businesses, shooting cops, all this stuff going on. They're rioting, they're breaking into places, they're stealing stuff, they're looting. They don't obviously know who Jesus is. How can they, it says, and how shall they believe in Him who they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? Now, I don't want everybody to point at me because you can all fulfill that role. Alright? You can all fulfill that term of preacher. How shall they hear without a preacher? How shall they preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who preach the gospel of what? Peace. That's what His gospel is. It's a gospel of love. It's a gospel of peace. who bring glad tidings of good things. You don't see that on the news very often, do you? But they have not all obeyed the gospel, for Isaiah says, Lord, who has believed our report? So that faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So how will they hear it? How will they know about it? How will this world, who's so violent, who's so filled with hate, how will they come to know the peace and the love of Jesus Christ if you and I aren't bold enough to share it with them? They won't. That's the answer to that question. I'm not going to leave you on the edge of your seat, suspense on what might happen or who might do it. That's you. The Old Testament says, who will go? And he says, send me. The prophet says, send me. I'll go. That's all the attitudes that we need. That's how we need to be. We see a problem, right? Anybody can turn on the news. Anybody can sit back and say, oh, well, this nation's, we're going down in a hurry. Everybody can sit here and see the problem. It takes no wise man to look and see that there's a problem. But it takes bold people like you and me. It takes people filled with the Spirit. It takes people unashamed of that gospel to go out and share it. And that's the only thing that can fix that problem. It's the only thing that can fix that problem. I'm convinced that it is the only solution that we have. What you're seeing, and I know I keep coming back to this, but what you're seeing is the result of seed that's been sown with the wrong kind. Right? You're seeing the result of bad seed being sown. You're seeing a harvest of Satan is what you're seeing. He's sown for years and years since the beginning of man. Since the first man that walked this earth, he's sown seeds of sin. He's sown seeds, that's hard to say, sown seeds of sin. A lot of S's in there. He's sown seeds of hate, of violence, of disobedience. And what we're seeing is the results of those seeds. We're seeing the harvest of those seeds. We're seeing the results of parents who haven't sown the gospel seed. We're seeing the results of kids who never spent time in church like these kids you see here. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing the results of kids who grew up not hearing, not knowing the gospel. And now we're seeing the harvest of that. Seeds that have been sown by the devil, seeds that have been sown by those who don't know the gospel. Here's the scary part, something that I realized in preparation of this sermon. Do you know, whether you realize it or not, you're sowing some kind of seed? You're sowing seed. All the time you're sowing seed. With every conversation you have, with every relationship, with everything that you do, with your response to your coworkers, with your response to your kids, with the things that you do and say, you're sowing seeds every single day. The scary part is, when you get to thinking about it, what kind of seeds are you really sowing? What kind of seeds are you broadcasting? What kind of seeds are you throwing in that soil? I've got 3 very impressionable soil samples over here. Alright? And I sow seeds every day with them. And when I sat down and I thought about that, I thought to myself, what kind of seeds am I sowing in their lives? It's not just them. I've got friends. I've got men that are my age and older that I see every single day, and their soul, it's susceptible to any kind of seed. What kind of seeds am I sowing in their lives? And how I treat them. And how I come to work every day. They know when I go to work every day, they know very well what I do on Sunday mornings. They're very well aware of who I am and my relationship with Christ. That's not all I talk about. So in those other conversations I have with them, am I still reflecting the love of Jesus Christ to them? Am I still sowing that gospel seed? That scared me when I thought about that. Have you thought about that? With your friends, with your family, with your kids, with your grandkids, what kind of seeds are you sowing? It's very important that we sow the right ones. See, just as easily as you can sow good seed, you can sow bad seed. Galatians 6:8 says, for he who sows to his flesh will of the flesh reap corruption. corruption. Proverbs 22:8, he who sows iniquity will reap sorrow. I see a lot of corruption and I see a lot of sorrow. All the result of bad seeds that have been sown. You see, you can be both sowing bad seed. I'm never going to get that down. We're going to go through the whole sermon. I'm never going to be able to say it. You can be sowing bad seed. You might not even realize it. I looked up, in preparation of this, I looked up a few websites, because I'm not a genius when it comes to planting things, right? There's no way I can keep a plant alive. But I looked up the importance of the quality of the seed, right? And what you'll come to find is, according to the North Carolina State Extension Agency, you'll come to find that the produce that you have is there's a direct correlation between your produce, your harvest, and the quality of your seed. Duh. The better the seed you sow, the better harvest you're going to have. Now, there's a lot of things that go in between there that have to be done as well. But they will tell you there is a direct correlation between the quality of the seed that you sow and the harvest that you reap. It's very important that we're sowing quality seed, gospel seed. See, the seed of quality means everything. What seeds are you planting? What kind of seeds are you sowing? I'm going to tell myself. This weekend, Cooper was with me. Well, we were all there. And I let a term leave my mouth. I'll just say that. I let a term leave my mouth that wasn't a very good one that I'm not very proud of. Right? And you know how kids are. Within seconds, that term was projected right back out of his mouth. I mean, seconds. It wasn't like, and guess what? Some things you can't understand. You can understand that one. Right? I know you're looking up here like, wow, that preacher is, he sounds like a bad guy. I am a preacher, but I'm also a man. Sometimes things happen. Right? Failures. That's what it was. It was a failure on my part. As a father, as a Christ follower, it was a failure. Right? But within seconds, he projected just exactly what I'd said right back out as plain as day. Right? That's a seed that was sown. Like that, within seconds, a bad seed was sown. And here's the scary part of that. You can't just pick that seed up. Once you put it in the ground, once you cover it up, it's sown. So guess what you have to do? There's only one way to get rid of it. It's to take it up by the roots. And it's not an easy process. For years, I'll be battling that seed that I sowed. He said, I heard you do it. You said it. I'll battle that for years now. A bad seed gets sown. You know what would be nice? Instead of having to battle those bad seeds, it would be nice just not to sow it. Right? It'd be nice just not to have those failures, those weaknesses. It'd be nice to not be sowing any bad seeds at all. What I love about that North Carolina State article is it goes on to tell you about something else very important. It's amazing how these two things come together with our discipleship and our cycle and our spiritual walk and also the growing cycle. And it says variety selection and seed quality. Oh, sorry, no, wrong thing. The quality of the seed lot can be improved by what? By conditioning. This is telling you that you can actually improve your seed by conditioning them. You can change the quality of a set of seeds simply by conditioning them. Oh, isn't that amazing? So the seeds that we sow, we can condition those seeds before we ever sow them. It goes on to say conditioning is used to mainly eliminate or reduce, listen to this, undesirable contaminants. Yep, there's a lot of that going around. So we can condition our seed, we can get rid, Jesus can get rid of those undesirable contaminants in our lives. We can condition our seed where when we're sowing it, it's the right kind by getting rid of the undesirable contaminants, such as diseased and immature crops. The wording was just like perfect on this. Diseased and immature seed. You get rid of those and you get some better seed. crop seed, weed seed, in a matter broken or split seed, or other crop seed. We get rid of those things and we've got good seed. See, as a planter, it's not just simply going out and dropping. I can remember this one difference in the two things. I can remember even as a small child getting a plant, right? Because I couldn't till the garden, obviously. All right, if you can't reach the handles on the tiller, you're not going to be doing much tilling, right? And if you can't draw a straight line, you're not going to be digging a row either. Which I will say this: I don't know if there's a man in my family that can actually dig a straight row. Most of the time, it's like a boat. But it would have been worse had I done it. But even at a young age, I could sow seed. I could go down the road, drop seed in every so often, right? That was a pretty easy concept to grasp. But it was just planting. I wasn't going through the seed to see if they were good or bad. I wasn't conditioning those seeds, saying, oh, this one's immature, this one's undesirable, this one's contaminated, get rid of it. I was just dropping seed in the ground. That's kind of the way some people live their lives. They don't care what seeds they're sowing. We need to care enough about the people we love, care enough about the people we don't even know, to go through those seeds and condition them so that we know when we sow one, it's something worth sowing. It's something worth sowing. We need to condition our seeds, get rid of the impurities, get rid of the disease, the contaminant, the weeds. We need to get rid of those things. And I can tell you what kind of seed we really need to be sowing. Yeah, it's the gospel, so yeah, I understand. I can tell you in detail. What I love about Galatians 5:22 is it says the fruits of the Spirit. Those of you who plant know what does fruit contain? What does fruit really contain? You cut open a tomato, what's inside it? Thousands of what? Seeds. So the fruits of the Spirit contain a seed that will grow and harvest more of those fruits. So if we have the Spirit in us and we are producing the fruits of that Spirit, we are actually carrying the seeds as well. Galatians 5:22, the fruits of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such there is no law. Those are the seeds that we need to be sowing. If you're producing the fruits of the Spirit, those are the seeds that you're carrying around for your fruits. Those are the seeds you will be sowing if you're filled with the Spirit. If you condition your seeds, that's what you'll be sowing. You'll be sowing love, joy, peace. There's not a thing in here this world doesn't need. There's not a thing in here that wouldn't directly change what's going on. Love. With love, there's no hate. With love, there's no violence. With love, there's no injustice. With love, there's no color of skin. Joy. We haven't seen much of that recently. We haven't seen many happy times. We haven't seen joy, happiness. But you and I can broadcast seeds that will produce love, joy, peace. My, what it would be like to be at peace again. Peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness. What in the world is the news going to do? What are they going to share if we go out and we project these seeds from the fruits of the Spirit? We may put them out of business. That's fine with me. It'll be a 5-minute segment on what the weather's going to be like. If you'll stand with me. Every head bowed, every eye closed. It's a planning process. That's what we've discussed today. First, I ask this: you know that the planning is important. You know this step in the cycle is important. You know that there are those out there who need you, specifically you, to be working in their soil and to be planting a seed in their lives. I hope and I pray you understand that. Second, what kind of seed are you planting? Are you here today and you don't really know what kind of seed you're planting? You're afraid of what seeds you may be broadcasting out. You're afraid of what seeds you might be sowing. If you'll let me know, just by raising your hand, if that's you this morning. If you're unsure the quality of the seeds that you're sowing, just let me know by raising your hand. Are you here today? And you see a world that needs seeds sown. Gospel seeds. Seeds of the fruit of the Spirit. Seeds of love, joy, peace, kindness, gentleness, self-control. You know that when you turn on your news, you see a world that needs those seeds. Do you also understand that you're the one who sowed them? If you're having trouble with that this morning, if you need courage, you need strength, if you need Jesus to be there with you, just let me know by raising your hand if that's you this morning. You know you need to sow seeds. You know you need help with that. You see a world that needs them. Let me know by raising your hand. Amen. Absolutely. A lot of hands going up because we understand that. Know that. I'm going to pray this morning. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, God, we thank you so much for your kindness, for your mercy. God, we thank you so much that because of you, we don't have to be afraid. God, we come to you today and we know that we're planting seeds, God. We know that whether we realize it or not, we're planting some kind of seed. God, I just ask this morning, Lord, that as we go out, Lord, that we're planting seeds worthy of being planted. God, that we're sowing seeds of your good news. We're sowing seeds of the gospel, Lord. Seeds that will transform lives. Seeds that will change hearts, God. Seeds that will reap a harvest that is plentiful and worthy of reaping. God, when we look at our world today, we look at the state of our culture, we know, Lord, these are the seeds that need to be planted. God, I ask you this morning that you would equip us, Lord, those in this room. That you would encourage us, but you would also equip us, that you would give us the courage, the strength, the abilities, the skills. God, to take every opportunity we have to sow good seed in a world that so needs it. God, I ask all of these things for one reason, God. Not so we can sit back and say, look what we've done. As the Scripture says, we may plant, we may water. But God, you're the one that gives the increase. Lord, I ask all of these things so that your name can be glorified. God, so that in our nation, you can be lifted up and seen and honored and glorified. God, give us strength to do that every single day. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.